Hey, I'm Scott.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Doxalogic, where we help you think with your Bible.
If someone struggles with same-sex attraction but doesn't act out on it, is it a sin? In other words, is same-sex attraction a sin?
Yes. Now, there's elements to this that we can talk about because this has become a really robust conversation. Let me anchor us in Mark.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking out of the heart.
Mark 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll anchor it there, and then I'll give an example, and then maybe we can talk about some of the nuances of this. But Jesus in Mark 7 has this interaction about there's nothing outside a person that by going into him can defile him, but the things that come out of a person are what defile him. So he's trying to locate, like, the problem is in you, right? Sin dwells within you, and that's the issue. Well, verse 20 says, Jesus said, what comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. Okay, so is that an exhaustive list? I don't believe it is.
No.
But is it a list that shows where does the origination of sin come from? Comes from out of the heart? Yes, and a variety of different kinds, both action sins, thought sins. You have passion sins in here, so you've got all these different elements going on. But sometimes the way to work on this kind of question that's so volatile right now about attraction is to, like, turn it and say, like, someone who goes, no, it's you may be born that way or whatever, that can't be a sin kind of thing. You would say, well, if someone said, man, I'm really attracted to murdering someone, I'm not thinking we're going, that's morally neutral.
Sure. You haven't committed sin yet.
Yeah, you haven't committed sin yet. The fact that you're attracted to doing it doesn't mean you've actually
I'm worried
done
about
it.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something's off there that if that was the case, I think you would call someone to repent of that thought. Right. And so in the same way that attraction that comes into, like, I'm attracted to something ungodly, whatever it is, I'm attracted to something sinful, whatever it is. So take it out of the context of this hot button issue, place it into the context of any other thing and say, would that fly with you on something you know clearly from the Bible to be wrong? And I would say you would not think that's okay.
Right.
Period. Right. So I think that's a good, just baseline
That's helpful
explanation to why that's a concern.
Two other just sections as far as verses, passages you could look at. Galatians 5, starting in 16. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other. And then 1 John chapter 2, talking about the things of this world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Chapter 2, verse 16, for all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and the pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. There is a more robust conversation than these several minutes is going to allow for, but I think anchoring it in some of these phrases, and the phrases themselves encapsulate so much more than even just the list of Jesus from Mark 7, or just the list of Galatians 5 in terms of what the works of the flesh are. Sexual immorality, this the bucket word of porneia, that's the Greek word, and the lust or the desire for homosexual attraction is a part of our sin. It's a part of sin nature, not in everyone's, but it is a proclivity, and it can can feel that it's been that way forever. And this is not the place to say is that ever possible or not, but it's to say that there's other sin nature issues. Again, remove just the hot button issue, whether that's toward gluttony, whether it's toward drunkenness, whether it's toward things that, like, between the environment you grew up in and, like, DNA type inherited that we would say, even if it were proven, it's a part of sin nature. It's not in God's design.
Right.
And so we need to put to death those desires, even the ones that have felt like they've always been there.
Sure.
In honor of Christ. And so we need to be careful not to make too much allowance because we love this person who is claiming these things, and they're maybe they get very emotional, right? This always gets very emotional.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why you just make sure you say it about everything, right? If you come out of the gates in the morning and you're like, wow, I have an attraction for pretty girls, on the flip side, I got a problem with that, right? And I'm going to call you on it. I think other people would have a problem with that.
Right.
And so, listen, the life of discipleship isn't it a life of denying yourself, right? Taking up your cross and following him, like in the sense of just broadly speaking, you are putting to death a lot of you, right? And by a lot, I mean the goal is all of you to be put to death, to keep crucifying the flesh with its passions, right? And to live to Christ. And so that is the case no matter what the subject is.
Right.
Associating this with discipleship is helpful.
Briefly, a couple of resources here. One, just an author, Rosaria Butterfield, and just her work in general. Her most recent book is Five Lies
of
our Modern Age.
Modern Age or something like that.
But she's got a biography. Well, she's got an autobiography
Of
and
our
other books.
anti-Christian age.
5 Lies of Our Anti-Christian Age. But there's so Rosaria Butterfield generally as a resource on this to watch, to listen to, or to read. But there's a new book that has recently come out, which she has called, she says, I think this is the most important book of our age. And this is a book called The Lust of the Flesh by Dr. Jared Moore. So it's a new book. I have not read it, but I would say on reasonably good authority and reputation to say, consider if this is you, if this is something you need to get to the bottom of and find greater conviction than you have today, leverage some good resources. And this would be, it seems like one of them. So
Cool. Thank you for that.
You've been listening to Doxalogic, a podcast by Doxa Church in Rockland, California. To learn more, visit us online at doxa.church.